So, hey guys, Mike back here. Clearly not in the nerd cave. We're at the office of Midnight Slate Labs, actually. And this is my buddy Nick Shaw. And we're just going to talk about the GPU launch today. Or, I guess, the reveal, if you will. So
NVIDIA releases new RTX line, latest flagship, 3 new cards.
I'm impressed. I'm excited and impressed by it. It's, I think it was a lot more than I expected. I expected a higher price and not as much of a performance jump based on what happened last reveal, and it kind of went the other way around, which is good for us, good for the people who are looking at upgrading.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting these cards to get released and a starting price of $1,000 for their flagship. Like, I guess when I looked at the cards for previous generation of the 2080s, and there's still cards out there, because even when I was looking to get my 1660 Super, 6 to 8 months ago when we were looking at that, and looking at the 2080s, like, they were still $800, $1,000, $1,500, depending on which one you grabbed.
Yeah, all the way up to the 2080 Ti. There's definitely cards going for $1,500. I know, like, EVGA, MSI had a couple cards up there. Ridiculous.
Yeah, so and now $699 flagship.
Yeah, now today, I mean, you got a card for $500. It's outperforming those. Like, someone probably, there's got to be people out there pissed off that they spent $1,500 on a card 2 weeks ago, and now there's a $500 card outperforming it.
Right.
I'd be upset.
Yeah, those watching the video, NVIDIA obviously today announced their new RTX lines, the 3000 series, I guess you could call them.
Yeah.
Next generation. 3 of those cards released, or announced rather, to be released middle of September, October, and then I'm not sure when the 3090s coming out, but the 3080s coming out September 17th, $699.
Yeah, the 70 and the 80.
Yeah, the 70's coming out in October, I think, though.
Oh, okay.
I think it's slightly behind. $499. Yeah, I think that's one you said you were going to get, right?
Yeah, I'll probably go with the 70. I know you were saying you'll go with the 80.
I think so. I mean, set the full yeet.
Full send, yeah.
Yeah, full send. What are you rocking right now?
I'm on a 2060 Super, so right just below that price range, but solid performance right now.
Yeah,
about to get crushed.
Yeah, that's going to be what, almost 4 times the performance probably if a 2080.
Oh yeah, that's supposed to be a 2080 Ti performance levels for the 3070.
Yeah.
So no, this is a huge jump compared to last gen. Was like, depending on what you were looking at, if it was the 60 series, like from the 1060 to, I guess, maybe the 1660 Ti or the 2060 you compare it to, it was only, 25% increase, where now you're looking at, for same series, if you compare the 2070 to the 3070, you're looking at probably more than double performance for the same price point. That's good bang for the buck. Actually, when the 2070 came out, I think it came out for $600. It was $599 on release for the Founders Edition card, and this is going to be $499. So I'm happy a lot of the leaks were wrong, because a lot of the leaks were showing these cards coming out at like $600-$700 possibly for the 70 series card, and maybe $800 for the 80 series card. And
wasn't the form factor kind of leaked to be a 3-slotter for the flagship?
I think it's because everyone was talking about the 3090, which is a 3-slotter. I mean, that thing is massive. It looks like it ate the 2080 or the 3080. I mean, like, it's huge.
I mean, I think my last gaming rig had 24 gigs of memory, and this card has 24 gigs of memory. Yeah. So that's absurd.
Yeah,
spec.
It's the new GDDR6X, which is also supposed to be a lot faster. I think they were showing like 17 gigabits per second of bandwidth across the RAM. So,
and that card's replacing what? It's replacing the Titan, correct?
The 3090 is going to replace the Titan, which was a $2,400 card, or $2,499, I think. So it's coming in $1,000 less for better performance. That's a huge statement. I'm almost wondering if, I don't know why they're being so competitive with their pricing, and it seems like they're willing to bring stuff down this generation. It makes me wonder if AMD maybe does have something in the pipeline. I know the console's coming up, and they're supplying the GPUs for those. Maybe.
Are they supplying for both PlayStation and Xbox?
Exact same GPU for both of them. Same RDNA 2 GPU, and both
that's interesting.
Supposed to be able to do ray tracing, 4K gameplay, everything in something that's going to be $500. So they're bringing something to the table that's clearly going to be a good performer here. Their GPUs are supposed to launch at the same time as the consoles, so late October, early November. I think they're supposed to have an event in October at some time. So I'm excited to see what happens with that.
So that's also interesting because I think during the keynote they said something about ray tracing technology not really being adopted widespread for different developers and games. So I'm wondering if once the consoles come out and then the games start getting developed for Xbox and PlayStation 5, that we'll see more of that obviously coming over and ported to PC and whatnot, and fully getting, taking advantage of that technology.
Everything moves with the consoles because the consoles drive games to be better, because games are only going to get so good on PC. Everyone releasing games still wants to release their games, most companies anyway, on consoles.
Right.
Because a lot more of the money is made on console sales than PC sales, especially for those big AAA titles, because there's just a lot more consoles in living rooms than PCs in bedrooms, kind of thing. I think that's been changing. I think gaming PCs are becoming a more mainstream thing, especially with the rise of like Fortnite, and now Modern Warfare is getting really popular on PC. And I think you're seeing a lot of kids getting interested in the PC gameplay earlier in life. I know you were, I would say you were an outlier when you were in high school and playing Counter-Strike competitively on PC. How many people did you know your age that played competitive games on PC?
Not many that played at the level I did. There's very little. I think some tried to play StarCraft.
Okay.
And then, of course, like a little bit of like arena competition in World of Warcraft. But I think that was like a little bit later on, trying to piece the timeline together. But yeah, I think after starting to build my first PC when I was like 6, and then progression through that, like I remember like even having like a GeForce. I think it was like just a GeForce 2, like one of the first like GeForce branded cards or whatever. That was like a standalone dedicated card. And I think it was like, I remember when it was like 64 megs of memory.
Okay.
And stuff like that. But yeah, I think through high school and playing competitive games, there was people playing StarCraft, which wasn't like very graphic intensive. Like the graphics sucked. I mean, Counter-Strike wasn't like even that great when it came to graphics.
Were you on 1.6 then?
Yeah. So I think, I'm trying to think, 2002 is when I started, around there, 2001, 2002. So I started with like 1.3. Okay. 1.5, 1.6 when Steam came out. Valve released Steam, and then 1.6 was part of that. And then, of course, Source and the Source engine evolution with Counter-Strike Global Offensive. But, I mean, none of those games were really that graphic intensive. I mean, the Source engine came out, and that did push some things, but, I mean, other developers were doing different things.
Yeah, now you said you built your first computer for that when you were like 6, but when did you really get into the tech behind it? I know you've always been into tech, but what is your first like standout GPU that you put into a build that you remember?
Probably, I never really did buy any of the Radeon cards. I think I might have inherited one and used it, but I think it's probably one of those GeForce 2s that I just got from like Best Buy. It was like a PNY card. Okay. And I think it was the one that was like 64 megs of memory, and I think I was playing like Diablo 2 or something like that. But I think I'm trying to remember what else I bought, because I think I had like a 128 meg card.
Well, I know the card I just that's in the old PC I just took off your hands when we were moving. Yeah. That's I think an 8600 GT that has a half a gig of RAM, and I'm excited.
That PC's got that in there?
Yeah, that computer has that in there. Huh. I was gonna turn it on, see if it just runs.
Interesting.
At all anymore. It's pretty caked with dust. So gonna blow that out. And give her a shot.
That was back when we were playing video games. I think I played. It's funny, we talk about graphics powers, and I was playing Counter-Strike at 640 by 480 on the old Samsung Sync Master monitor. Yeah, it was just like you carry it to the LAN. This is a massive thing. That had 120 hertz refresh rate, so that was fantastic. Because all like the pros for FPS games were looking for the 120 hertz, and that monitor was like the standard for LAN tournaments and whatnot.
Okay.
And so I remember lugging that thing around. But now we're talking about during the demo today, they hook up, their new GPU, the 3090, to an LG TV for 8K.
Yeah.
Like it's insane. So we're talking about a huge leap in the last 20 years.
I mean, it's been now, and even in the last 5 years, if you go back to the 900 series,
Yep.
Or like my first card I built with was in 2011, 12ish. I did a PC with a 670 in it, and that had 2 gigabytes of VRAM. And I remember I got that card. I was so excited. Played, I think, Metro 2022 or whatever it was back then, and it looked amazing. I had a friend over, and he was like, "Wow, we got to crank the settings on this. This is nuts." And that card now probably could barely run anything at 1080p high setting. Well, 1080p low settings, it would have trouble on probably any new titles.
Right.
I'm sure it still does an okay job. I should check with one of my friends. He has that PC, but yeah, that was a monster of a card 8 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and those were all single slots.
Oh, no, that was a dual slot.
Was that a dual slot?
Yeah, it was a dual slot. It was a triple fan. It was a gigabyte
Oh,
card.
jeez.
Yeah, that thing was... I thought it was awesome. It was the first graphics card I ever bought, and I was so pumped. That was when I just got into PC tech and everything, and I was just super excited when I got that in the mail. It was just so badass looking to me, something like that. I'm sure if I look at that exact card now, it doesn't look nearly as clean as what we have today.
Yeah.
But back then, it was so cool. And then, just fast forwarding from then to now, that was the 6 series. They had the 700 series cards, skipped 800, went to the 900 series cards. We still have friends. I know we have a close friend running on a 980 Ti, and it's still a great card. But I think he's going to be getting close to upgrading here soon because there are games coming out. I know Microsoft Flight Simulator, 1080p medium settings, and it doesn't even get 30 FPS on that card.
Wow.
And that was a top-of-the-line card 5 years ago.
So that's what I'm curious about. Like, once these cards are released, what's it going to do to the price of the 2080s? And those ones,
God. The 2080 Ti is going to go in the dumpster for price. Like, I mean, new right now, that's a $1,200 card. They're going to be going on the used market for $400 or $500 probably because...
Why would you even bother, though, if you can go get 3070?
Right. So, yeah, I'm sure... Give it 3 months, and they'll probably be on eBay for $350. The only reason they would be more than that is if there is a struggle, like if NVIDIA can't keep up with the orders on the new cards.
Yeah, if there's a demand issue for sure.
Yeah, and I think there is going to be at first with these because it is such a leap. There's going to be a lot of people wanting to upgrade.
You think all the Bitcoin miners are going to, go after these? Because that market's kind of calmed down. But I know I remember like 1080s got announced, and those were like very hard to come by. Like I know some professional gaming organizations, like they had stockpiles sent to them from NVIDIA personally that they purchased direct from NVIDIA because they were so hard to find on the market because that was like when Bitcoin was like shooting off to the moon. But so everybody was building like these mining rigs and they were just buying them up, and it was like impossible to find them unless you paid like 2 to 2.5 times like the retail for a card.
So now when it comes to the cryptocurrency stuff, the value isn't there right now anyway. The only way you're going to get any value out of crypto mining is if you have literally like a warehouse full of computers,
right?
And like just server racks set up with the mining rigs with 20 GPUs in each one. So it's not really a feasible thing for individuals to get into it anymore. And the people who are going to do it already have their facilities going. Well,
I'm curious, like if you have like that scale of facility, and one of the charts that was shown, and I know some other people have talked about in their videos, was like the savings when it comes to performance and the amount of energy used by the actual card for gaining that performance.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you have something of that scale, do you make an investment for a 3070 or a 3080 to get some savings from that? I'm wondering how like that chart would look for them to make a decision.
I think in the current state of crypto, it's not an investment worth looking at. I just don't think there's any really value to keep going with that. I don't know. I haven't looked into it, I guess, but I haven't seen any rumblings when it comes to that whole side of things. It's been really quiet. So hopefully it stays that way. I think that just the value of cryptos really kind of hit the toilet. So
Yeah.
not a worry.
So I guess the next thing is, when is 8K gaming going to be a new norm? Because now that we're here with the 3090 and the 8K stuff, and we're seeing more 8K TVs, they're still really expensive. I think, the one you sent me the other day, was that a Samsung?
Yeah, that was a Samsung. I mean, that was the top of the line Samsung 8K. That
TV.
Was 12 grand.
Yeah.
You can get that. I mean, there's 8K TVs.
We just put it right here on the wall. Just mount it right there. It's got enough space.
I can see it now.
85 inch.
But I mean, there's 8K TVs out right now. I think for around 2,000 is the starting price for like a 55 or 65 inch 8K.
Right.
Obviously, it's not the top of the line, but it's still out. They're there. God damn it.
So the question is, like, how many games are actually pushing 8K? They showed like 2 or 3.
Yeah, they showed Control and they showed Wolfenstein, which are both NVIDIA optimized games, big time, and they're both ray trace optimized. So yeah, those 2 games were probably very optimized for these cards, just so they could show that off. I don't think there's going to be many games pushing 8K. I mean, sure, you can run you'll be able to run Counter-Strike at 8K, no problem. I'm sure the 3090 would shred that.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that.
But yeah, you need an 8K monitor.
I mean, I'm still playing Counter-Strike Global Offensive with a 4:3 stretched ratio. And I think I'm playing like 1290 by 960 stretched or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It's a 4:3 ratio stretched. It's the old school, how we used to play with once we moved from CRTs to LCDs, and we just play stretch resolution. So I mean, I'm not even playing 1080p, which I think I'm going to change it, because Valorant I am playing 1080p.
I was going to say Valorant you play 1080p.
Yeah, Valorant I'm playing 1080p. I just new game right out of the box, left the settings however they are, just change some of the graphics quality just to get more consistent FPS. Like, it's high, but if I get certain dips, certain areas, of course I want consistency.
Yeah.
But yeah, after playing Valorant at that, I think when I was going between the two, changing resolutions, it was screwing up my aim.
Okay.
So I think to level it out, it'll be a good decision to finally play Counter-Strike at 1080 and see how it looks. Now, but like, again, that's like Source Engine version 1. They haven't even ported it to version 2 with a big update or anything like that. So
yeah,
it looks good, but it's not like the new Call of Duties and stuff like that. That's really like pushing the boundaries. Rainbow Six and
and bringing up the, like you said, the more mainstream stuff, pushing the boundaries. We have all of these TVs now that are 4K. The new consoles coming out that are supposed to run games at 4K 60, 4K 30, whatever. And these GPUs, finally, you're going to have the mid-range, the 2070, because the 2080 Ti could play games at 4K 60, a lot of games. So now you have something 2070 or the 3070 is supposed to be that same level of performance. People are going to be probably adopting 4K monitors and 4K TVs and such for their gaming PCs now, and really going to push that market, because until this generation, I think most people just stuck with 1080p. 1440p was definitely growing. I know personally I stuck with 1080p because I didn't want to give up those frames for the higher resolution.
Right.
But now I think people are going to start climbing that resolution ladder because they don't have to give up frames for it.
Yeah, and so it's interesting because, as you know, just moved into a house, and I finally, I'll use air quotes, upgraded my 720p plasma, Panasonic plasma. Can't beat the blacks, can't beat the contrast, the picture quality amazing, but 720p to a 4K HDR 120 hertz panel. Like, so I guess the next thing for gaming is like, okay, who's going to be default resolution at 4K 60?
But did you see a difference?
I mean, it depends on the source. Last time I'm watching hockey, and NBC Sports is still broadcasting their little Dookie bit rate or whatever they're doing.
Yeah,
not great. But
now the graininess of that is more apparent, really.
the menus look really good, though. The menus on everything look amazing and, pixel perfect. And it looks good. But it's just like I lived with 720p on my main TV for, I got that my sophomore year of college.
Yeah.
And I've had that. So it's been, I don't know, 2010, so a decade I've had that TV.
Right.
And then I've had like a 1080p Vizio. But now when it comes to gaming, I mean, I'm thinking I got my 144 hertz BenQ monitor, and I'm still rocking that. And I really have no intention to go with like a 240 or really go up in resolution, because like I'm still trying to get the most FPS consistently. And, the amount I play these days is just 144 hertz works for me.
And with the other cool part with the new GPU, I know you were looking at the 3080. You're not gonna have a problem with those frame rates. You currently don't really have much of a problem with those frame rates.
No, I get 400 FPS in Valorant on like full settings.
Yeah, but with the 3080, you're gonna be getting now more of those RTX benefits. You'll have the RTX voice you can use, which I know they did a cool little presentation with their whole new their
AI.
RTX.
The AI broadcasting stuff. Yeah,
that looks pretty cool. So you'll have those features to play with when you're streaming, as well as I think like the NVIDIA encoder in their new cards. I mean, it keeps getting better. It kind of started getting really good in their last series with the 16 series and the 20 series cards.
So that's actually a good point, because I didn't think about that when I was thinking about upgrading the card. I was just like, everything else in the system is high end, very high end in my build, and then I've got the 1660 Super, which is a fantastic card.
Yeah, but I didn't
think of the streaming benefits of like, I am encoding.
Yeah.
With my card.
I mean, the 1660 Super is like, if you put the rest of your build out there and then you're like, but I have a 1660 Super, it kind of looks like a child in a man's build.
Right.
With the 3090 or I can't 3900X. I want to say 3090.
Oh, yeah, the Ryzen 9.
Yeah, I want to say 3090 because we've been talking about the GPUs.
We may as well just match everything up with the 3000 series,
Right, yeah, just keep it fluid across the board. And these GPUs are supposed to, one, be PCIe Gen 4, as well as take advantage of the Gen 4 SSD that you have in your system.
So that is yes. I'm actually looking forward to that bit, because I know they showed all the charts about storage being a bottleneck. And yes, I do have a Gen 4 that I don't think I've even pushed at all.
Right. And now you'll be able to utilize.
Well, the interesting thing is too, like with my fiber, I've got gig up and down. At one point, do we start seeing streaming in 4K? Because if I have a graphics card that can do the encoding, and I can push out 4K 24 FPS on top of playing my game and doing all that other stuff, like at what point do you start seeing? I mean,
the bottleneck is going to be Twitch at that point,
exactly,
or YouTube, or wherever you're streaming through.
Because there's no way in hell they're going to want to see that much data from these people trying to push 4K.
No, they're going to give that'll start with their top streamers, I'm sure. When it does start to become a thing, you'll see on Twitch someone like Shroud will maybe get the opportunity to stream at 4K. But it's going to take a long time and a lot of infrastructure updates before that hits our level. And I'm sure on YouTube it'll be the same way. You'll see someone like MKBHD. He already can upload videos in 8K.
Right.
But I don't know if he can stream if he does a live stream, or same thing, Linus Tech Tips. I don't know if they can do their live stream in 4K. I haven't paid attention.
Ooh, that reminds me. Now I have to go back and watch my old videos that I shot in 4K and actually watch them in 4K on my TV. Because the only other thing that I've seen, it's been more recently, and I haven't like put out as many videos recently.
Your monitors.
Exactly. Yeah. But that was the first 4K display that I started seeing my 4K stuff on.
So I've seen your stuff in 4K more than you have.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than looking at it on the back of my camera.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I just got that monitor. I think it was it end of last year or like beginning of this year or something like that? I think it was end of last year is when I got that monitor.
It was.
And that's for everybody watching it. I know we're pointing behind you. It's an LG Ultrafine 4K. That's for a MacBook Pro. So obviously color accurate and fantastic monitor for editing, all that stuff. But yeah, that's what we're referencing. So that was my first 4K display.
Yeah.
And then I've had like other people watch and stuff, but
And it's a great display for editing, for color correction and everything.
Yep. Yeah.
But no, I'm excited for you to get one of these new GPUs, and I know you said you were gonna try out DaVinci Resolve, which is what I've been using. I know you're used to Final Cut.
I
but
am.
With all that power,
MacBook junkie.
yeah, but with all that power you're gonna have now, if you have a 3080 with your 3900X, you could really utilize that. You're gonna go to freaking render a video out on DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll just be done like that.
when I render out like a 10-minute video on DaVinci, just my 2060 Super is what's doing all the lifting there, and I'll get it rendered out with color correction, voiceover music. I'll even have some special effects in there for the transitions, and it'll render it out in like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and you're shooting 1080, which I mean,
it's just
I've got
1080. You'll do 4K, but
4K 200 meg a
then
second.
if you have that 3080, think about something that's probably 3 times the performance of my current GPU.
Right.
Just crushing that. You'll.
I'm gonna become a Windows editor. So
Yep.
we've been going a little bit over 20 minutes. Any last wrap up thoughts before the camera cuts us off? Because I think your camera has a 29-minute, 30-minute recording limit.
Yeah, I had set on that right now. No, I mean, I'm excited, and I think we're both excited and pleasantly surprised about what NVIDIA dropped on us today. And I can't wait to get my hands on one of these new GPUs and just kind of put it through its testing. I'm excited to pair it with the new HDMI 2.1. I know we didn't really touch on that, but a lot of the new TVs have that. My
Right.
TV, your TV, both can do 4K 120. I'm excited to try that out. Maybe play some games on my TV.
PlayStation 5.
PlayStation 5 is going to do the same thing, but I mean, I can go back and play some awesome like story games. Like I have Horizon Zero Dawn now on PC. If I can push that game in 4K, even if I get 70, 80 frames, my TV has the FreeSync Premium on it. It's going to look buttery smooth at 4K.
Right.
And that game is going to, it's going to blow whatever it looked like on the PS4 Pro out of the water. And that's going to be exciting. So that's probably my last thing it's one of the things I'm most excited about with these cards. But,
Excellent. Well, I'm going to plug my socials on your channel. So
I already linked your channel to my channel.
there we go. Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, if you want to check him out, his YouTube channel is Nick Shaw. I'll have it linked in the description. And he is also known as Midnight Slate Labs. You'll see me tag him in a lot of stuff as that. He's repping the hat right now.
Yes. and Knob Creek, if you want to sponsor the podcast that we're going to be starting in the future, we are having Knob Creek. I believe this is the maple.
It's good.
I don't know. We've been sipping it. I should know what this is.
Yeah, it is. It tastes like maple syrup.
Yeah.
But it's really good.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah,
Peace.
see ya.